The sighted. You're 15, and you have always seen things other people don't. The thing crouched in the corner of the train car that no one else flinches at. The shape breathing in the school stairwell after the lights go off. For years, you told yourself it was nerves, bad eyes, a mind that runs too hot. Then one night, one of them notices you noticing. It comes off the ceiling wrong. Too many joints. A mouth where a mouth should not be, and it is fast and it is hungry, and not one adult on that platform can see it closing in on you. You should die right there. You don't. Because something under your skin that you never knew you had answers on instinct, a heat with nowhere to go, and your hand moves and the thing bursts like a struck bulb and rains down as filth that evaporates before it lands. You stand alone in the street at 2 a.m., shaking, certain you have finally lost your mind. You have not. You never were. The world is full of monsters, and you are one of the few people alive who can touch them. And a man in a dark uniform is already walking toward you out of the dark. He was there the whole time. He says one word. Come. Grade 4. The student. They take you to a school that is not on any map. Jujutsu High. They teach the thing you did on instinct like it is algebra. Cursed energy. It leaks out of every human being on Earth, out of fear and grief and hate, and where enough of it pools, it stands up and becomes a curse. You are the antibody. You are grade 4, the very bottom, a first year, and the first real thing they teach you is the number nobody says out loud, the count of students in this building who will not live to graduate. It is not a small number. The upperclassmen are kind to you in the specific, careful way people are kind to something that might not last the year. You train until your palms split open. You find your own technique, the one thing that is yours and no one else's, and you are humiliatingly bad at it. You're 15, then 16. Across the city, your old classmates are losing sleep over a math test and a girl who won't text back, and you are learning how to walk into the one building everyone else is running out of and put down whatever is waiting inside. You have never been this afraid. You have never felt this much like the thing you were built to be. Grade 3. The Exorcist. Your first real mission feels like nothing at all. A grade 4 curse in a shut-down hospital, slow, half-formed, and you exorcise it in 90 seconds and stand there in the dark waiting for the earth to move, and it doesn't. That is the job mostly. Long drives, cold buildings, paperwork you file up to higher-ups who run all of this from rooms you will never be allowed into. Then, 3 months in, it stops feeling like nothing. A mission is graded wrong, the thing inside is stronger than the file promised, and the second year who drove out with you, the one who showed you where the vending machines were, does not walk back out with you. There is no funeral the world can come to. You carry the news to a family who will be told it was a gas leak, a fall, an accident, anything but the truth, that their kid died fighting something that was eating people in the dark, and that no one will ever know, and that this is the deal you all signed. You are 16. You are promoted to grade 3 the same week. Nobody says the two things in one breath, but you understand now that they are the same thing. You went up a rank because someone below you went down. Grade 2, the Soloist. Grade 2 means they trust you to go in alone. It also means you are the one they send to stand in front of the people who cannot stand in front of themselves. The terrified grade 4s wearing your old face, the assistants, the civilians who wandered somewhere they never should have. And you get good, frighteningly good. The technique you were once humiliated by now moves a half second before you decide to move it. But something quiet is going wrong underneath all of it. You have started to lose the ability to talk to anyone who is not one of you. You sit at a family dinner and your mother asks how school is and you say, fine, and there is grade 2 curse residue drying on your sleeve that only you can see. And the distance between you and every person who loves you is now measured in a language they will never be allowed to learn. You're 17, then 18. You have buried 3 people you trained beside. And you have started doing the thing the older sorcerers do. The thing you swore at 15 you would never do. You have stopped learning the new students' names until they survive their first year. It costs less that way. You tell yourself it costs less. Semi-grade 1, the nominee. You do not get to grade 1 by asking. 2 sorcerers who already hold the rank have to put your name forward, and then they hand you the test that half the nominees do not walk away from. Exercise a grade 1 curse. Alone. A grade 1 is not a slow thing in a hospital. It thinks. It has a technique of its own, a domain, a will, and it wants to keep living exactly as badly as you do. You find yours in a flooded subway tunnel at 3 a.m., and for 11 minutes you are certain you are going to die down there where no one will ever find you. Your cursed energy runs dry. Your technique fails you. And in the last 30 seconds, cornered, with nothing left in the tank, the thing that only ever shows up when everything else is gone finally shows up. You turn your own certainty of death into the weapon, and you win by a margin so thin you are sick in the standing water afterward. You're 19. They grant you semi-grade 1 that same night. You have never been closer to the top, and you have never understood so completely that the top was never safety. It is only ever a bigger thing trying to kill you. Grade 1. The Pillar. Grade 1. The rank the leaders hold. The rank of the names they save for the missions that would wipe an ordinary team off the map before lunch. You walk into a briefing now, and the young ones go quiet. The exact way you once went quiet for upperclassmen who were gentle with you because you might not last. You lasted. And the world picks this precise moment, the moment you finally hold real power, to show you how little that power actually buys, because the higher-ups drop you into the thing they built and had the nerve to call a game. Barriers fall over whole districts of the country. Sorcerers and curses are sealed inside together under one rule: earn points by killing, or your own cursed technique is stripped out of you, which is a slow way of saying die. You spend weeks inside a walled-off colony, hunting and hunted, and you learn the last lesson no grade was ever printed with. The monsters were never only the curses. The men who run Jujutsu Society will feed 100 of their own into a grinder and call it necessary and sleep fine. You are in your 20s. You are one of the strongest people breathing, and you have never felt more like a tool held in somebody else's fist. Special grade. The strongest. There is a rank above grade 1 that is not really a rank at all. Special grade. Maybe 6 of them alive in the entire world at any one time. The kind of power the official reports have to describe with a line that should be a joke and is not. Capable of destroying a nation, alone. And one day after a fight you had no business surviving, in the half-second your technique finally unfolds all the way and the air itself starts to bend around you, you become one of them. You open a domain. A sealed pocket of the world where your rules are the only rules that exist and nothing you mark inside it is allowed to miss. And everything caught in it simply ends. You are now the thing the higher-ups fear and need in exactly equal measure. You are also, from up here, completely alone. There is no one left who can spar with you, no one who can carry any of the weight from the other side, no one you're equal to just sit in a quiet room with. The strongest sorcerer in the world turns out to be the loneliest person in it. You're in your mid-20s and you would trade the entire terrifying ceiling of it for one more cold drive to a nothing mission, next to a second year who knew where the vending machines were. The weapon. This is the part no first year is ever warned about, because no first year would stay. At the top, you stop being a person to the people who run this. You become an asset, a deterrent, a number in a strategy no one will ever show you. They send you into the fights that would end the country if you lost, and they resent you for being the only thing standing between them and the losing. Your name gets used to frighten the next generation of curses, and, more quietly, to frighten your own side. You come to understand that the system you bled your way up through for 10 years is rotten straight down to the foundation, that it protects itself long before it protects anyone, that it was always willing to bury 100 students rather than embarrass one elder. You are old enough now and strong enough now to burn the whole thing down. You genuinely think about it. And then a first year, grade 4, terrified, humiliatingly bad at their own technique, nearly dies in front of you on a routine job, and you move before you decide to, the exact way you moved that first night in the street at 15, and you finally understand you were never doing any of this for the system. You were doing it for the kid. The last one standing. Count them if you can still stand to. The upperclassmen who were kind to you, the second year from the hospital, the 3 you buried at grade 2, the nominee who took the tunnel test the same night you did and never came up out of the water, the friends, the rivals, the ones you stopped naming on purpose so it would cost less, and it never once cost less. You are now one of the oldest living sorcerers, which is a sentence that means something horrifying the moment you say it aloud. Because the only reason old sorcerers are rare is that almost nobody is allowed to become one. You have a technique that could flatten a city and a list of your dead that runs longer than your own arm, and on the worst nights you honestly cannot tell anymore whether you climbed every one of these grades or simply outlived everyone who was climbing beside you. But here is the flat, stupid, unkillable truth you finally own. 8 billion people went to sleep tonight in a world that is full of monsters, and not one of them will ever know how close it came, or your name, or that you were ever standing there at all. That is the job. That was always the job. You keep it. And somewhere tonight, there is a kid on a late train, 15 years old, who has always seen things other people don't. The shape in the corner of the carriage that no one else flinches at. For years, they have told themselves it is nerves, bad eyes, a mind that runs too hot. And tonight, for the very first time, one of the things in the dark notices them noticing. It comes off the ceiling wrong, too many joints, far too fast, and not one adult in that carriage can see it closing in. And in the half second before it reaches them, something under their skin that they never knew they had begins, for the first time in their life, to burn. They don't understand it yet, but a man in a dark uniform is already rising from his seat at the end of the car and walking toward them. He was there the whole time, and the whole impossible thing is about to begin all over again.